Très bien, voilà. Non, non, mais pour moi aussi, hein, voilà. Mais bonjour, bonjour en tout cas. Bonjour, bienvenue. Great to see you again. Day 3, we're getting through it. So we're now at Wagner. We had Mozart, we had Beethoven, we're now at Wagner. So what have we got? 1867, now stuck in the middle of the German Romantic period. It's an overture to an opera in 4/4. Tomorrow we're going to be Dvorak in 3/4. So question is, I like dancing. Music's got to dance anyway, but great, a lot of tangos in 4/4, so it's not just a march, but this is a little bit more march music than perhaps tomorrow's going to be. So we've now got the full weight of a romantic orchestra, so a few more strings there. We've got a harp on the right-hand side, and we've got a whole lot of 3 trombones and tuba right at the back. And we have some percussion, so this time we only have triangle and cymbals. So we're now about as big as we get. Yesterday we only had 2 flutes. We've still only got 2 oboes, 3 flutes, so we've got to get bigger and bigger. All right, so the first thing I'd like us to do is to revisit an experiment we did yesterday, which was to show you for once what is it like to be inside the orchestra. It didn't quite work yesterday, so we hope it's going to. We have another shot at this. You're even further away. We're going to do 2 positions. We're going to do what is it like to be trombone player, timpani player, right at the back, because this is a long way now. What's that like? What's it like to be solo oboe, solo flute in the middle there? Altos we did yesterday, that's fantastic, so we'll leave that. So we're going to play this piece through, so it's 10 minutes, and you're going to then experience what it's like inside the orchestra. And I say for 2 reasons. One, of course, it's great fun, and secondly, because this question of how loud to play, how do we play together? How do we find the right balance is part of the rehearsal process. And if you think about it, every player's got to have, one half of the brain is concentrating on playing the actual instrument, and the other half is trying to hear who else is going on so that you make this chamber music. And the smaller we can make the brain that's talking about how we play, and the bigger we put the brain that who are we playing with, the better chamber music we make. So that's part of the fun of playing rehearsals we played, so that you find this. So that's one thing. The second thing, though, that gets me is, let's not forget, in a lot of music, that the music I listen to when it's not classical music, most of it is from amplified instruments. So if you take I have electric guitar, but if you take the electric guitar and you play that without the amplification, there's no sound really at all. And here, every single instrument has its own resonance. So we are not only, when you come into an orchestra, and a couple of times now I've had the opportunity of putting, especially young people, young kids, to come inside the orchestra. It's not that the fact it's really loud inside the orchestra, it's the fact that each one of these instruments is played by a human being. So even if you go to the biggest rock concert in the world, you're going to have a whole load of speakers going up the side there, and somebody at the back in the hall saying, yeah, a little bit more of that, a little bit less this. No, we can't do that. First of all, we can't hear that, and secondly, it's our job. So it's much more complicated here. But the point is, when you come to classical music, you are hearing, what have we got here? 85 human sources of sound, not just a whole bank of speakers. And we spend all our time with these. It's great. Please don't get upset, my nice radio and TV team here. Without you, they'd hear absolutely nothing at all. So it's great, but this is what you get when you come to a live concert. And so now we play the whole piece through, and we go through there. Perhaps before we play it through, just so that for those of you who are interested in these tunes, these themes, we should play 3 themes that you ought to know are gonna come, all right? So here's the very opening theme. Do we play this tutti from... This is Maestro Singer, so this is one of the themes associated with this particular. We'll talk about this later on. What does it mean to bring character from an opera into sound? So that's one theme which you'd love to hear. This one you ought to hear again. So it's the lever de B. Ça, on peut faire simplement l'harpe et tous les vents. Timbales aussi, mais pas les cordes. Another one, that's a real Meistersinger tune from, 1560 or something. I'm just joking. No, it really is a tune. Don't know when it was. Quite. Here we go. And then this theme you ought to know as well. So let's find Let's just play the first violins first, all right? Those of us who were there yesterday and the day before, we know that's so different from those tunes. This is obviously our second big theme. Let's just play that to tutti. Here's a Great. We won't spoil it. We won't spoil it for them, right? Okay. So now we're going to do this the whole piece through, and you're going to see bit by bit what it's like to be inside. All right? So filage la pièce. Filage. Great. Well, I don't know what your journey through that was. I hope you got an experience that it's not the same as being in the public. So that was part of the thing. So let me have a look at this. So the first thing that interests me is that this is the overture to an opera. So an opera is, by definition, a collection of characters in an allegorical story, having human emotions that by the end of the opera, we can say all the emotions in our lives that we're feeling at the moment, these have happened before, and we are not alone on this human journey. So this allegorical element's fine. This idea, we've now got themes that relate to allegorical characters. Then we have the thing that obviously the characters are singers, which obviously brings us back to troubadour idea and the idea we can all sing. I mean, that's the whole point. Everybody, some better than others, and we all can sing. So that brings us back together. So, and we're now in the middle of the Romantic period. I'm never sure why we call classical music classical music. I hate that idea. It's just music that we all love. So let's forget that. But there's a period called the Romantic. So in this time, we've got Schopenhauer and all sorts of philosophical ideas. And I think there is always an underlying sadness in all the music in the Romantic period. And I kind of think that, funnily enough, I was thinking this last night, perhaps it's only in contemporary music, when you get to the break of tonality in the beginning of the 20th century, perhaps it's only contemporary music which again stops this inherent sadness. So these characters, our main character in this, one of the main characters, boy meets girl, of course, there we go, but the main character is Hans Sachs. And he's obviously, the story is he's too old, really, and he gives up the idea of being with the girl in this story. And the idea then, if you read Schopenhauer, which is all part of this because Wagner and it was all very much of the time, there is something noble about Hans Sachs, and there is something inherently silent sadness by a character that's that noble. So I've got two things. So this is the very first time we play this. So it's all everybody enjoys, have a great time. It's all very big, long, quite fun, not too loud, but it was like this. I want to try and tip this on its head a little bit. Now, we talked yesterday about color. And if we're talking about what does that really mean? Well, on the one hand, it means character. So we're going to now find, hopefully, characters for these particular themes. And that means we are going to play with timbre, which is overtones. In painting, it's hue of your color. It's the same color. So just a little bit experiment before I do this, so you've got an idea what is possible here. Let's just do this. Nora, give me, when you've got to read, give me an A. So this is the A that we have at the beginning of every concert and everything. So. Then you give me your A, okay? That's Sarah. Let's have Dimitri's A. Let's Steve. Do you want to give me your A? Great. Bogdan, you give me yours. And how about you give me on the C string, give me a D quart flageolet. Da da quart da. Give me the A, sounding A. Funny, you're great. Or give me any A flageolet. That's a nice one. Play me yours again. Bogdan, can you play yours? Play me yours.
Challenge, yeah.
There we go. All right, so these are the same pitch, they're the same note, so we know they're different instruments. So why do we know they're different instruments? Let's put oboe and trumpet. Let's play the same thing, right? Okay? It's trumpet and oboe. Sorry, got it? Great. Let's put flute and clarinet. And let's put flute and violin. So all of these are the same note with different timbre because we've changed what? What have we changed? Well, let's try a low note. Ross, do you want to give me your low B natural? So there you are. The tuba is the lowest instrument there. And Hector, do you want to give me yours? Okay. Now, this is a really long low string. We're going to go up this string, and we're going to show you what happens. If there was a skipping rope between me and Hector, and he held it, and I went like this, we'd get one loop. And if I went twice as fast, we get 2 loops with a hole in the middle. And if I went 3 times as fast, we get 3 loops with 2 holes. These are natural harmonics. So could you just go up the string and show me what happens? Yeah, we have to. They kept telling me, do everything slowly, Jonathan. Speak slowly, do everything slowly. Really slow. Find me. Especially the end. Go on, let's just do the end. Especially, show them when we get it. The bit where it gets really high. Stop on each one. Stop on each one. Like. Yeah, up. It goes out again. Did he go high? And again? Right. So, that's thanks very much. Sorry, really. out of nowhere, this one. So basically, we have as possibilities, every instrument has a bit of a possibility to change the balance of all these harmonics. Because in that low string, you have all the harmonics going all at the top, which are in the same string as this one, even though it's a lot higher. So I'm going to do this. In my ideal of German music, it's I don't know, it's like, for me, it's like mountains rather than French music, which is like the ocean. It's got this weight to it and this thing. We are going to play, we have a chance of playing 2 things. One, each instrument can choose a little bit what kind of frequencies they give, which of these overtones, and then we can also balance out. So let's take the trombones and tuba, all right? So let's take the beginning, and we're just going to play them out. Just trombones, tuba, the very beginning, and we'll just play a couple of bars, all right? 2, and... Let's just make that clear, because you do it great. We work with this, but let's make it really exaggerated. So we'll put Ross. Let's put these bass notes quieter, like piano, and you give me a sort of mezzo forte forte on the top. Okay, Matteo? 2, and 3. So with all of these chords, we've now got all the top notes speaking up there. Let's turn it back on its head. So Ross, just give me your low, yeah? 2, and 3. Get this color that's all coming from the bass. Now, I'm going to ask you this, which I ask sometimes. Is there a way, that still sounds to me a little bit, if I were trying to sing this, yeah, give me as much low frequencies, stretch this sound sideways, whoa, add me in that balance more low frequencies and less high, if you can, yeah? And done. That, and can you add the horns, the 4 horns? Trombones and the horns, yeah? 2, and 3. Now, for me, I don't know what you feel, I lose a little bit of horn there. I've still got trombones dominating it. No, it's fine. Don't need to 5% less loud. Can I just see the horns? Can you just bring the horns? and dum. Let's try that balance, and then now can you stretch the sound in so that we get this wom, 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 wom. The character is a little bit, a bit thin. Let's try and make him a bit fat, and just the horns. I'll get that because we start this piece in forte and everybody usually plays as loud as they nearly as they can, and then 8 bars later or 10 bars it's fortissimo. So I'll take that forte. Means we have to be a little bit less loud. See, remember one thing here. Look, be careful. Every time we go on tour, we get a new acoustic. We have a new hall. Look where the walls are next to these players. This particular fantastic hall as it is was only designed to have instruments on this bit. There was people sitting in that bit. Now we decided, we want to play lots more music than the hall was designed for. So, but they've got all these walls close, which means it's a bit like a funnel. And we have to try and compensate for that a bit. So let's go down a little bit, the trombones and tubas. And let's add the trumpets to this, all right? Can I just see give them the trumpets, just the trumpets alone? I've got a bit too much trumpet now. I would like a little bit more horn. We'll keep the trombones where they are and a tiny bit less trumpet. But let's just hear the trumpets. And the... And that's fantastic. You look at, on bar 4, can you just play me bar 4? Just the trumpets, bar 4, this C. It's a great balance because I've got lots of low, a lot of low, and the top notes is just sitting on a cushion. If we tipped it the other way around and put the top higher, we'd go to a different type of sound. So let's put all these brass together. 2. We've got to do that. Now we're going to just add the strings. So strings, can you give me the tutti, the beginning? Dum. First of all, cellos and basses, that's fine. Give me your, let's hear what you play. Just cello bass. And... Yep, all right, fine. So we've got enough double bass. The cellos, it sits a bit on top of that sound for me at the moment. Try getting rid of some of these high frequencies and making it a darker sound. And let's just try that first of all as this, yeah? 2, dum. Fine, that's great. The advantage, of course, of this with the bass in the bass line in the middle is that we can all hear that and find our way in. Now, I think we've got a chance to make a more beautiful sound at the very first chord we make, so don't attack it too much, pull in to the string more. And let's try this. Let's have the violins and violas, bar 2. Just play as you did, no cello bass. Of course, spread out. Normally speaking, we'd be closer together. So we can't hear each other as well as we usually do. So we have to find each other a bit more left side of the brain holding this. Just show me this. I find it, character-wise, it's a bit gluey. But I don't want you to make more attack on the beginning of the note. So we're going to keep forwards a bit more of this. Secondly, can we remember, we have several possibilities what we can change of color. But again, let's turn a bit more hair on the string. Let's see what happens if we put a bit more weight into this sound, yeah? But no louder. 2, dum. we'll take that. Be careful, it sounds awfully loud. You're going to have to play fortissimo in a minute. So perhaps we calm that down a little bit. Let's put all the strings together, right? 2, 3. Right, so now we got this and this in there. Winds, you haven't got a lot to do here, but just let's play me the opening so they've heard what you do. You 2. Hard job because the difference between the melody and the bass is a long way. They're a long way away. The bass, there's not too many of them. Later on, if we come to let's give them something which is a bit easier to hear. Let's do the fugato. Let's do that. Why don't you play me winds? Find G. Let's just play that, right? Woodwinds. Yeah. Really great, not too bad at all. Let's try. What would just play me the second clarinet and 2 bassoons. No, I like that. So that's great. Let's keep that level. We're a bit too. Actually, you could give me a bit more on the low. Well, no, we're doing it together. When it comes to the low, we give a bit more second. Let's have a bit more bassoon. Just a bit more, right? 2. Yeah, that's going to be great. Let's add all the woodwinds. You're at G. Okay? Dim. There we go. So let's with this idea, let's just give them a little bit of the beginning. So we've got this first thing. This is tutti, right? 2. That says immer forte, which means always loud. We were beginning, so we shouldn't go less loud, but it's too loud, isn't it? We're never ever going to be able to crescendo in it. So keep this calmo here. Then, so we're not so loud. Secondly, what's interesting in this, I talked about this yesterday. It's a march, it's a march, and it's these Meistersinger, and that's 2 different things in one go, character-wise. I'm going to ask them to change his character. These Meistersingers, on the one hand, of course, Wagner's enemies, because these are the people who make all the rules, which he wants to break. On the other hand, he wants to be part of this tradition of being part of Septim. So you're pulling me in 2 directions at once. At the moment, you're only going in this. There's not quite enough on the front foot of this. So where's that going to be? Yum, bum. First of all, in the bass line, the very second note you play, don't play it too loud and put me crescendo on it. So I get yum, dum, ya, da, dum. So we get a real melody in the bass line. Second thing, when we get to bar 3, make sure that's going forwards and not backwards in music. Again, I like a dance. Why do I like dance? Well, dance is simply because it not only tells you which is the heavy foot and which is the light foot, but it takes you have to take weight from the heavy foot onto the light foot. So it's always, we're moving energy around like this. If it's only stamp, there's not enough thing. So that's the thing. The third thing is, when you get to bar 6, in the bass line, de sol dièse, c'est plus importante que là. Quand on arrive l'alti, premier trombone, premier trompette, mesure 5, non, c'est 7. Le sol dièse, le fa dièse, le sol dièse, le fa dièse, the E, this sharp. Bring this one out too. This is more important than that. And when we all get to bar 8, don't go ya da dee da dee da da dee da dee da dee da da ya da da pa da pum 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 pum. Where the crazy notes ya pa da da dee, all the crazy harmonies up to the subdominant on the fortissimo. All right. So we're going to do all of that in one go, and then I want to cry with C major. That's what I want to do. It's got to be sad C major, not happy. 2. light and shade to something, somebody who wants to get this, yes, glorioso, they've got it. Somebody who says, actually, it's not quite so, there's more pathos in it. They've got that too. So I've given both sides. That's the great thing actually about classical music. In the songs I know, the things I know that are not classical music, there's usually one main thing. It's sad, it's happy, you've lost love, you've got love. Whereas classical music often, especially this stuff, you're never only happy. You're happy and you're happy with 4 parts and you're a bit sad with 1, or you're sad with 4 parts. It's always a little bit, because life's more complicated, isn't it, than this? And that's what we have in this stuff. So let's let that section go. Let's go and show them, because they were all counting on this wonderful thing when we get all 3 themes together. Or 4 themes, actually. So this is the reprise. Ça, c'est J, je crois. 158. All right? Now, we've got to be very, very careful, because it's piano for most people. So can I just hear the tunes? This is the double basses, that tune, I mean. Double basses, 2 bassoon lines. That's all I need. Yeah, double basses and bassoons. But mezzo forte, all right? 2, 1, 2. After this stage, give me a little bit more kick on each of these notes. Same level, it's a junk, a bit more glorioso there. And then let me just put this dee-da-da-da. That's the first violins and the first horn and the first clarinet. Can you play me this second melody? Dum. I know we're changing bows, because in the opera pit we won't be loud enough. But try showing me no change at all. Da-da-da-da, only where the phrasing mark is. We won't change the bowing there. Now, try. Can you give me something a little bit more tender, a bit more, change that color, right? To D. Yes. Just to get it together, we can't dream too much on that 16th, otherwise it'll be a little bit, won't be working there. And then can I have the second violins, violas, horns, 2, 3, 4, and the trumpets. Is le lever de 158. 1, 2, 3, boom. So this is gradually, I know it's scherzando, it means a joke. This is a joke, of course. It's a bit too loud, just with this huge distance, it's a bit too behind. So this is a problem, because they'll see this and they got to play in ahead of this, which is never great. But just put me a bit ahead of this, and then can you phrase me? And then we go on a 2-bar phrase, yeah? 2, 2. I don't know what this is going to sound. This is all a bit too loud. Actually, this is a bit too loud for me. And don't make it a little bit more on the strings together. Half the dynamic. 2, 3, and. Fantastic. And when it changes chord, yum, bum, bum, the second time, we don't have it, but just enjoy that harmony there. And then the very last one, can I just have, can you add the flutes and the oboes to that, and the second clarinet, yeah? Add it to this. Same people, would we add to. All this music keeps going forwards rather than backwards. I don't like backwards going music, so don't. Now, this is fine, that's fine. Now we've got all the tunes we need. So let's play Tutti, 158. Tutti, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's lovely. There's not enough melody going on in the melody. So really sing me a melody up and down in this thing. And again, it's not funny enough. It's not clever enough. It's a bit too pale, pastel. You know, a little bit more Falstaff than this. dum. And that's it. Nearly. Great. Come on, you're playing too loud. I'll do it too. The tune is in the bass line. At mezzo forte, and everybody else is pianissimo. Don't make a crescendo that they haven't done. Yeah? Let's try and get this. Two. We've run out of time. Very sorry. Hope you enjoyed. Yes. I hope you enjoyed that. It's only a little bit of what we'll do at some point with all this. There you go. Great. Tomorrow we'll do Dvorak, won't we? So that's a really sad thing in 3/4 dance. Thanks very much.